At this point, we need to start setting up some gates and policies so that our standard users can't have access, because as you can see up here, I'm logged in as a standard user, but I have access to this dashboard page. So that's what we're going to fix today. Before we get to that, I want to create another link up top for the admin dashboard so that we can go back and forth. So if we head back into the text editor, and then we go to resources, JS, layouts, app layout, we can head up to where that navigation is. So I believe it's under, should be right up top. Okay, right here, navigation links. So what we can do is close that. Okay, we can just copy this one, paste, and then just change this one to admin dashboard, and then just add admin to this. And it's already styled since we're using the navlink component. Okay, so let's go back, let's refresh, and now you can see we have it highlighted up here because it's the current route that we're on. Okay, right here. Fantastic. And now if we go to dashboard, then dashboard will be highlighted. Okay, well, we're going to show this conditionally once we set up the gates and policies. So why don't we start doing that now? So we'll go back to the text editor. We can close this. And then if we go to app, models, user, we're going to create some helper functions to help us with this. So the first one is going to be public function has any roles. We're going to pass in the roles and open up some curly braces or brackets, and it's going to return this roles, meaning the user model roles, and then it's going to look for where in, because it's going to be in an array, the name is in any one of the roles that we're going to be passing through first. Okay, and if that's true, it's going to return true, and if not, it'll return false. Okay, so this needs to be capital. Okay, so it's just looking for if a user has any roles. Okay, now in the next one, we can copy this one and paste it here, and this is going to be has role. Okay, we're going to pass in the role, and instead of where in, this is going to be where, because we're only looking for one role, and it's the same thing. So this roles where the name is the role that we're passing in first. Okay, these are just simple little helper functions to add to any one of the controllers or any of the models or anything like that, any other relationships that we need to have for the user and the roles. Now we can go ahead and create our first role. So let's open up a new terminal, and if you put in PHP artisan, okay, and you scroll up a bit, make policy. Okay, there's already a command for make policy, and it's going to create a whole new policy class for us. So why don't we start with the roles? So it'll be PHP artisan make policy, and then we'll call it roles policy. Okay, can bring that down. The policy was created. Now if you take a look over into our list over here, our menu, you'll see that now we have a new folder, and the first one that we have in there, it's policies. Now that PHP artisan command that we just ran automatically inputs the user. It brings in the user for us so that we can just pop it right in here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we don't have to touch the construct, and as we build these, we need to understand that how we're going to handle this is by giving it two different sort of ways of doing things. For example, for anything involving the admins, we want to be able to either allow them to access or we want them to be allowed to manage. So if they're higher end, then they'll be able to manage. So if you're a super admin or an admin even, and if you want some lower end stuff, so maybe you want maybe just a developer, they'll just be able to access stuff. They won't be able to manage anything. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and paste in a little bit of code in here. Okay, and what this is the new function. We're naming it access roles and we're giving it permission to access our roles. So the people that we're giving this permission to is the super admin, the admin, and the moderator. Okay, now we have 5 different we have 5 different user types. One is user and the rest are admin. So it's super admin, admin, moderator, and we also have developer. But developer, we don't want the developer to be able to access roles. They shouldn't have anything to do with the roles. Okay, so we are only allowing these 3 to be able to access any of the roles. Okay, fantastic. The next thing we are going to allow is for any user to manage roles. So and these has any roles are the ones we just created in this user model. So it has any roles, and then we're going to pass in those roles. Okay, so that's what we're using here to return this policy. So for this one, now we're allowing to manage the roles, and the only ones we want to manage the roles have the role of super admin and admin. I really hope this makes sense because it doesn't sound like it is, but I'm trying. Yeah, so access roles and manage roles, and we created these access roles, manage roles. You can name it whatever you want. You can do it however you want. This to me is just the clearest way of doing it. To make it as easy as possible. Okay, fantastic. So now that we have our first policy, which is the rules policy, now we have to actually register this policy somewhere. So if we go to providers, auth service provider, and we take a look at this file, we can map it for the application. Okay, so we already have one in here, but we're not going to use this one. What we're going to do is we're going to say user class equals, and then we're going to say roles policy, and that's going to import automatically class. Okay, and then we're going to come down to the boot method. We're going to keep this register policies. This is just part of our vendor files, which is just any policies that have already been put into place, because there are some already within Laravel that are already active. So that's why that register policies is here. So we're just going to add to this. Okay. So what we're going to do is now bring in gate. We're going to import that. It's going to import the facade right up top. Okay. So gate. Then we need to define access roles. Then we need to bring in the roles. We need brackets, roles, policy, class, and now this can be called access roles, because that's what we're naming it in our policy, access roles. Okay, fantastic. The next thing we need to do is, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put in a little notation, and it's going to say access. So these are where all our access gates are going to be defined, and then here we're going to put manage, and this is where we're going to be able to put in our managed gates. Okay, so our gate for in here is going to be define manage roles, and it's going to be roles policy. It's going to be the same thing as it is up top, class, manage roles. Okay, and so now we have our access roles and we have our manage roles, and both of them are coming in from our policy. access, and manage. So why don't we go ahead and make our other policies, and then we'll try one out. And in the next episode, what we'll actually do is just implement them throughout the app. Okay, so you can just press the up arrow, and then we'll have admin's policy. And then the next one will just be user's policy. Now, if we had more models that we were working with in our app, since we only have in here the admin, the roles, users for our particular app, then we just have those three. But if we had more, you can always add more policies, or you can do them wherever you want to do them. They're really quite useful. Okay, so why don't we start with the user's policy? Okay, so what we can do is just copy them that we did in here, because they're pretty much the same. They're just for different, let's see, from here. Copy. And then we'll come down here and paste. Okay, so now this will be this, and this both will now be users. We already have our user model brought in. Has any roles? We're going to have, this one's going to be for users, so we can have super admin, admin, moderator, that's the same, and then super admin, admin, and that's the same. Now if we do the same for our roles, we have our users policy. We can do it for our admin's policy. Okay, we'll come down, paste that in, and now this will be access and manage admins. Okay, so now for in here, we're gonna have all of the current admins that we have access to this. Okay, so we need to add the developers in here. We don't need to add users, obviously, but we are gonna add the developer in. Oh, that just needs one S, one R, no S. Okay, fantastic. So now we can go ahead and put it in our auth service provider. So in here, we can just do copy, paste, paste, and the same thing for this, copy, paste, paste. Now we'll change this, 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 and this to users. We need to change this to users policy, and then the same for the third one, which will be for admins. Okay, admins, right in here, admins, and now this policy will also be admins policy. So to show you one for now, since we already have this set up, if we go to our, we can close these and close all of them. If we go down to the routes, let's just go ahead and lock off the admin routes. Okay, which start right here. Okay, so in the middleware here, now we can just add can access admins. Okay, so that's for all of the moderators, all of the admins can now access the admins once we put this middleware on here now. Now this can is just, it's just a Laravel thing, so you can check out the documentation for gates and policies. Let's see, so now if we go ahead and refresh, let's see, we've got an error, call to undefine access admins. Let's see, access admins. Let's make sure that I did that right in here. Where's our policy? Auth service provider. Access admins, access admins. This should be admins policy. Okay, let's try it again. Go back, refresh, and now we should be redirected. Admin policy does not exist. Let's see. Let's go back to the text editor. And let's make sure, I think we need to import it here, yeah. So we'll go ahead and import all of them. Import all classes. Okay, so roles, users, admins. Okay, so now we should be good. Let's go back, refresh. Okay, and now it is not authorized, which is kind of what we wanted, but we'll go ahead and fix that in a second. So this 403 page that we have is actually an error page from Laravel. So what I want to accomplish is basically, I don't want users to realize that we even have an admin panel. Okay, so if someone goes in and tries to type this in, I want to make it look as if they just hit the wrong page. Okay, so I don't want to show 403 that it's unauthorized, because then they know that we have an admin panel. It's just my personal preference. You can do it any way you want it. This is just how I tend to build out my projects. I just don't want people to know I have it. If it looks like there's not anything there, then, you know, they'll normally just walk away, so to speak, but I don't want that. So what we do to fix that is, if you go to resources, views, let me open up the Laravel documentation. So laravel.com. And we go to, let's just type in errors and see what we get. So errors, say error handling. And let's go up. And you can see under HTTP exceptions, custom HTTP error pages, you can create your own error pages, Laravel errors, publish. We don't need to do all that. All we need to do is, we'll come back here, and in this views folder, we'll just add another folder. We'll call it errors. And then we just need to name the file with that error number. So in our case, it's going to be 403.blade.php, and open that up. And I'm just going to paste in some code, and I'll walk through with you what it is. So it's just a regular, our HTML setup, the HTML5 setup with the title and CSRF token, and the same thing as our app.blade.php, essentially. Okay, but for us, we are adding a message that says, "Oops, this page does not exist." Click the button or the link that we're going to have, and that's going to take you back to the main landing page. And then we also have a little image in here from Unsplash. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go here, refresh, and now you can see we just have, it's just a 404 error message saying that this page does not exist. And that's just, it's a little bit of a fake, but it works. And actually what I want to do is, now that we can go back here, okay, so now this will just take us back to our landing page. What I want to do also is, or what I tend to do also, is I make a 404 page like that. I like to customize my error pages, but this is mainly for my own sites, my own things that I work on, but it's kind of a fun thing to do. So we'll just go ahead and add it, 404, and that'll be for that too. So now if we come back and let's say we'll refresh, we click slash and then type in a bunch of random characters. Okay, we also get the 404 page, and you can put the 404 up here if you want in the title, and that's something that I would do too, but this is just a fun little side note, I guess. Okay, so why don't we try to, we're going to log out this user. So we'll go to the dashboard, we'll come here, we'll log out. Okay, and then we'll log in as an admin. Admin@admin.com, password. Okay, and now we have access to our admin page. Okay, fantastic. So what I want to show you too is, if you go up top in the Laravel documentation, and let's say you go and look for gates or authorization, okay, this is where the documentation, this is where it all is for the gates and the policies that we just did. I should have said this in the beginning, but I completely forgot. So this is where it is. You can take a look. You can see how we made the policies, how we created the gates, and then you can authorize for different things, which we'll be doing in the next episode. We're going to go more into adding these gates to our controllers and in our view pages. One more thing I wanted to say about these 403 pages is they are Laravel blade pages, the error pages that we just made. These are blade pages. And I didn't do them in Vue.js only because it doesn't quite get the same error with Inertia that you do if you try to do it in Jetstream or in Inertia. So I just went with the blade file. I think that's fine because you're going to be essentially going back. It doesn't matter if the page refreshes or not, and that's all that's really doing for us. It's just, you know, it doesn't make a difference if the page refreshes. So that's why I didn't do it in the Jetstream. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it there. In the next episode, we will be cutting off these links. We'll be basically locking down the rest of our application for the admins and for users, and that might be the last episode of this series. Okay, so I'm going to make sure to push all this code up to GitHub. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.